Valguero just got completely repolished on ArkSurvivalAscended with newly added creatures and a new terrifying boss called Grendel that not only spawns vultures but heals as well. And if that's not hard enough on its own, I challenged myself to survive 100 days and defeat him using raptors only. But hey, maybe with the newly added Megaraptor and a charm of luck, I'll stand a chance against this beast. And without any further ado, let's get started. I named myself and spawned on beach zone 3, then wasted no time and started farming stone. And I actually found out that carrots spawn in here, but that won't be much of a use for now because this is a raptor only challenge. And yeah, I won't even be able to eat it because it was immediately stolen by an ichthy. And those creatures wouldn't even leave me in peace, so I had to go over to the other side to actually start making some progress. And after gathering enough thatch and wood, I learned some important engrams and was able to craft myself a stone pickaxe, which I placed into my hotbar and started breaking river rocks for flint and metal, which I used to craft a hatchet as well as a torch. I wanted to make a couple of spears, but I was missing fiber, so I looked around for some bushes, and I'm gonna have to farm berries and fiber by hand for a really long time, as the only berry farming creature I could tame is the Gigantoraptor, and I'm still way too far from that. Anyways, it took some time, but I eventually crafted some spears and killed a dillo before unlocking more engrams. But I was out of fiber again, so I had to get back to farming. And it took quite a while to be able to craft cloth armor and a campfire, which I placed right away. I then unlocked the thatch foundation and the spyglass and had to farm fiber again as usual before crafting a foundation and placing it. I started cooking up some meat, then went to some nearby bushes to get narco berries and fiber because I'll definitely want to tame a raptor soon. And I just so happened to unlock the bola, but I needed hide to craft it. So I went to kill this dillo and avoided its spit as usual. Then unlocked the bow and arrows, crafted some bolas and started running looking for dodos to kill for hide. I killed a couple with no issues, but then this one came thinking it was the alpha or something, so I gave it a spear in the face. After that, I saw a weird looking turtle, and it turns out they're the harvestable dead dinos that give you spoiled meat, so I'll definitely take that. Up to this point, I used to think that there were only dead basilos, but I guess I was wrong. Anyways, I went back and picked up my stuff to move to the other side, but right before going, I heard something moving, and I found a turtle inside the cliff. Man, those creatures are really weird in this map. Anyways, I started moving to the other side because there seemed to be a little more creatures. And if you're wondering why there are berries in the last lot of my hotbar, it's so that those stupid birds steal it instead of my meat. Pause. Luckily though, they caused no issues and I found a decent spot to place my stuff. So I lighted my campfire and learned the storage box, then went to farm some wood. And while doing that, I found my first wild baby pteranodon. And I gotta say, I didn't think they'd be able to fly. Also, its head is too big. Well, I got enough wood and made a storage box as well as a couple of arrows and a bow. Then put some resources in and rearranged my hotbar real quick. I then went to farm stone until my hatchet broke. Well, after that I repaired my hatchet and crafted some bolas and arrows, then started farming flint. I then unlocked hide armor and had to go on a quest to get fiber since there aren't any bushes at all nearby. Once I found some bushes, I farmed literally all of them on this hill. I really hope I'm not overdoing this harvesting speed up. Anyways, I went back and crafted myself some hide armor. After that, I made a mortar and pestle, then placed it on my foundation and started crafting some narcotics. I had to go farm some thatch though and found a tree up here, but it wasn't too easy to get up. And I genuinely do not know how much time passed before I was able to get up, so I was really disappointed when I knew I could have just went around and reached the tree. I harvested it, found another hill with a tree, and it didn't take as much time as the last one, so I farmed the trees, then went back down, and that was the end of day 1. On day 2, I harvested some bushes for narco berries, then crafted narcotics and as much arrows as I can, which I wanted to turn into trank arrows, but I still had to level up a bit to do that. So I organized my inventory and started running towards the left side of my base in hopes of finding a way to get up this hill. The place was infested with birds though, so I had to try and avoid them as much as I can. And while running, I actually found a turtle egg, so obviously I took it, and that made its mom try chase after me, so I gave her an arrow in the face, then continued on my way until I reached a place that could lead me upwards. And even though I'm not well prepared, I decided to go up there to check if raptors spawn, cause I'm gonna need to tame one as soon as I unlock the trunk arrows. And yeah, this place was filled with fog, which made me a little scared that something might jump on me out of nowhere. But there were a ton of herbivores though, so it seemed a little peaceful. Well, at least at the start. But after seeing a parasaur running away from something, I wandered closer to the other side in hopes of finding a raptor. But all I kept finding were more herbivores. But that's when I found the new Megaraptor, which was fighting a Duplo in the distance, and it was doing some crazy abilities. By the way, taming them only really requires a torch, so I kept that in mind, but I needed a raptor first, so I kept searching. And after a while, my character got thirsty, so I had to go back down without finding any raptors. But that's alright, because now I know that Megaraptors spawn here. Well, I went back down and drank some water, then ran all the way back to my stuff and unlocked the water skin and the bed. I also needed just one more level until I can craft metal tools, so I went to get hide in the meantime and found this bird which took me about 3 hours to kill, but trying to harvest it was a whole other matter because I genuinely took so much time to get up there and harvest it. Yeah, I haven't played this game in a little while now, so I should be excused. Anyways, after farming up that bird, I probably killed like half the population of dodos in the area, but their skin would be turned into good stuff like saddle in the future, so it won't go to waste. Well, I hope so. All that killing gave me the levels I need to finally unlock trunk arrows and metal tools, but I'm gonna deal with metal tools later and just make some trunks and complete my hide armor. I then made a water skin, unlocked the raptor saddle, but I couldn't craft it because I ran out of hide, so I kept some resources on me and killed a couple more dodos to craft the raptor saddle. Then filled my water skin before heading on a journey to the top of the mountain to look for a raptor. Once I got on top, I started looking and it didn't take too long before I found one and decided to just tame it regardless of its level because I just needed a mount to help me get Deinonychus eggs and crystal. Once it was knocked, I gave it some raw meat then wanted to get up this hill because it wasn't really safe down here and my point was proven after I got attacked by this raptor, but it was easy to kill with this bola. Anyways, I chopped him up then went up this hill which was honestly just peaceful and I got a chance to enjoy the graphics. I also looked around for crystal but all the nodes were either too high or too far, so I guess I'm gonna need to make ladders. Anyways, I kinda just chilled up here waiting for my raptor to get tamed while playing Clash Royale. And after a while I went higher up the hill just to have a better look on the place, but I still couldn't see any crystal nearby. And by then the raptor has tamed, so I went down to it and named him Parasaur, then gave it the saddle and that was the end of day 2. I spent the start of day 3 playing around with the raptor, running and jumping around for a while in hopes of maybe finding crystal, but I found a unicorn. Not just a unicorn, but a unicorn with a baby. Those are really rare and of course they show up immediately when I can't tame them. So I bit my lips and pounced on the dad, and believe it or not, this is probably the first time I used this ability on ASA, because I usually never tame raptors because there are a lot of better early game dinos. Well, I killed the unicorn and really wanted to take the baby, but a challenge is a challenge, so I ended up killing it as well. After that, I continued my journey further looking for crystal until I finally spotted some nodes on a somewhat reachable area. There was a raptor though, so I tried not to aggro it and went around. I then learned the thatch ladder and ceiling, but I was missing some resources, so I started farming those trees and bushes, which made me able to craft a ceiling, a foundation, and a couple of ladders. And I don't know why I thought I could place a ceiling right up there, But I'm genuinely curious to know who made it that I can't climb the ladder on both sides, or at least rotate it so I can climb from the side I want, because it's just really stupid. I took a while to try and rotate it, but there was no use, so I moved the foundation closer, but that's when I got attacked by a raptor. Luckily though, it was no match for Parasaur and got sent back to the lobby. And there was somehow an arrow stuck beside his face, and I tried to take it, but it's all good, he's fine. After that I placed the remaining stairs, but they weren't enough, so I had to craft more. But I was way too far to reach the top, so I picked up the foundation and moved it even closer. But I couldn't land on top, so this time I crafted the foundation. My plan was to jump off the ladder and place the foundation under me as I'm falling. But it kinda backfired. Hey, at least I placed the foundation. So after that embarrassing death, I was gonna spawn in the closest place to where I died, but it was a little dangerous and I was afraid I would spawn under the hill. So I picked the second closest place and spawned right beside a peaceful lake. So I started running back to my raptor while collecting fiber on the way. And thankfully I didn't run into any raptors or megaraptors. All creatures I found were herbivores like Ankies and Brontos. But I did spawn 1000 meters away, so it took some time, but eventually I got back. And good thing I learned my lesson from the last video, or I definitely would have fallen down here. Well, once I got back, I realized this place was cursed and I couldn't take crystals, so I just packed my stuff and was gonna look for crystal elsewhere, but that's when I found out that there was crystal on an easier spot to get up to than where I was trying to get. So I placed my ladders again and tried to do the same plan I tried before, and this time I succeeded. I then started farming crystal, and since I'm using stone pick, it took some time to get 2 pieces. Once I got the crystal I needed to make a spyglass, I skillfully jumped down and held on the ladder, then farmed the last few resources I needed to finally craft a spyglass. After that I got on my raptor and started running going back to base, because now that I got the spyglass, I'm gonna need to craft metal gear. I kept running for a while and nothing really happened, but I found some Deinonychus fighting a Lymantria on the way. So I got a little curious as to if they have a nest or not, but it was still day 3, so I didn't even bother looking for the nest. But I didn't need to, because I found the nest right in my way without any of its parents nearby, and I couldn't let this opportunity go to waste. So I scanned the area, grabbed the egg, which was a level 85, and that was honestly a great starting point. Once I got it, I just kept running and running, but none of its parents came to chase me. I guess it was just meant to be. And it wasn't too long before I reached the edge of the cliff and jumped down to finally get back to base. And that was the end of day 3. On day 4, the first thing I did was to unlock the large storage box and the standing torch, because I'll need it to hatch the Deinonychus egg. But I needed more wood, so I got on the raptor and started looking for trees. And this time it didn't take me too much time to get up here. So I gathered the wood I needed, but I had to drop some items because my raptor couldn't carry all that. I then went back, crafted the storage box and quickly checked what level I needed to be in order to unlock the Deinonychus saddle. And it's level 32, so I'm just 5 levels away from that. So in the meantime, I started crafting narcotics and placed the large storage box, as well as start cooking up some meat. Then organized my stuff and unlocked the forge and the smithy, as well as some metal gear. I then started farming a crap ton of stone, which made me able to make the forge. So I placed it and started smelting the few pieces of metal I have. But that isn't even enough to make a smithy, so I went to farm the nearby river rocks and got just enough for a smithy and a metal pickaxe, before farming the rest of the stone and wood I needed. Once I had everything I needed, I had to wait quite a while before the metal I needed to craft the smithy finished smelting. So I placed the smithy and finally crafted the metal pick, which was a huge jump. Once I got the metal pick, I started farming the rest of the river rocks because I still needed to make the remaining metal tools. I didn't gather a crazy amount before unlocking a few more tools, and since smelting is gonna take some time, I decided to start hatching the Deinonychus egg. So I crafted 3 standing torches and lit them up and finally started hatching the egg. While I'm waiting for the egg, I crafted a metal hatchet, and when the egg hatched I got twins. I mean, they were both female, but that's still really good. I also noticed they were growing a little too fast for me to imprint them, so I had to relog and change my settings real quick. And while waiting to imprint them, I started breaking river rocks for metal, and after that I found a Parasaur egg, so I took it because none of its parents were nearby. Anyways, I did give both my Deinonychus some meat and wanted to name the first one Ether, but I remembered they're both females, so I just picked the closest name that I could come up with and named the other one Astrid. Then started the waiting game. I had to change my settings a couple times since they were still growing too fast, and day 4 came to an end. I had to wait a while through the start of day 5 until I could finally imprint them, and Ethan just asked for a cuddle, and that made me realize my settings were still messed up. So after a quick fix, I was able to fully imprint Astrid right before they grew up. So now I have one of the best land mounts in the game and a backup just in case it dies. I then immediately wanted to craft the saddle, but I was missing hide and wood as usual. So a few trees and dodo families later, I crafted the saddle and got an Astrid right away. And I have to say, those just became my favorite real Ark creatures. They're just so good at moving around. I still couldn't figure out how to climb with them though or latch onto creatures, but I'll learn that over time. Honestly, the best thing about them is that you can move in any direction while you glide. And I'm pretty sure I found a glitch right here. It may not seem that big right now, but trust me, just wait until later on when I get used to it. I'll show you just how good this glitch is. It kinda reminds me of that Thyla jump glitch right after Scorched Earth came out, and it's made them able to jump insane distances just by spamming space. It was really good, but trust me, this one's way better. Yeah, so while playing around with my Deinonychus, I came across a Megaraptor really close to my base. I checked its level and it was a level 145 female, so I knew I had to tame it. The problem is that I didn't think it'll get knocked with a primitive torch, and I didn't know just yet that I could use multiple torches, so I decided to tame it a little later. And yeah, that glitch I mentioned earlier, look how high you can jump with it. All you have to do is just leave space and press it quickly right as you're hitting the ground, and the momentum just keeps on building. So basically you can jump over cliffs just by using this glitch. I did also come across the same Deinonychus nest, but no eggs spawned yet, so I just kept on gliding over the white cliffs and covered insane distances in really little time thanks to this tech. I was mainly looking for Deinonychus eggs but found nothing the entire day, though I did find some ruins with a cat statue. I mean, that's pretty cool. I spent almost the entire day abusing this glitch until I genuinely mastered it. Like, look at how much distance I'm able to cover with just one jump. And the directional gliding genuinely comes in clutch. And I found a beautiful area which I think I might consider building on, but I'll see. There was some metal nearby, so that's definitely a good spot to build on, considering I can't tame an RG. So I grabbed a little bit of metal, then made it back home with just a few jumps. Man, I really like this creature. Once I was back, I started smelting the metal I got, and that was the end of day 5. On day 6, I decided to go tame that Megaraptor, so I got myself 5 torches, then got on my backup Deinonychus and went over to where the Megaraptor was, but I couldn't find its altar where I saw it before. In fact, I searched and it wasn't anywhere nearby. I thought it might have went underground, so I used Ghost to check and it wasn't there either. By now it was getting closer to my base, so I relogged hoping that would fix it, but the altar still wasn't there. And yeah, the Megaraptor was chasing a Procoptodon and that stupid thing led him straight to my base. So now I really stressed out. I tried to make it follow me to where it was before, but it aggroed on a turtle. And anytime I tried to make it go away, it would end up attacking something else. Eventually I led it a little further away, but the main issue still isn't fixed, so I thought that maybe going out of render distance and coming back later could spawn the altar. But I kinda got carried away and ended up falling close to the redwoods. But hey, at least I learned how to latch onto creatures. And I also found a blue drop with a ring which had some narcotics, which isn't too bad since I don't have a berry gathering creature. Anyways, I was able to jump over this cliff somehow and easily made it back with the Deinonychus. And my point was right, because after going out of render distance, the altar spawned. So I ran over to it and the Megaraptor found me before I could start the taming process. Thankfully though, I was able to access it before it hit me and finally started taming it. So to tame the Megaraptor, you basically need to access this altar, which makes you able to only move left and right. And the Megaraptor would show itself every few seconds and you have to hit it with the torch before it hits you. And that way its torpor starts to increase. And you need to repeat this until it gets knocked while changing your torches if any break. But if you aren't careful, this could happen, and it really does too much damage. I also found an easy way to tame it. By just looking to the left, it will almost always spawn on the right. So once it spawns, just flick your mouse to the right and hit it. But don't get too used to it, because I was doing the same thing and it managed to spawn behind me. And it was this time I realized I don't have a bed. So I spawned on the closest location and started running back, but I genuinely do not know how on earth the Megaraptor appeared behind me and killed me. That thing is genuinely insane. So I spawned back on day 7, then went to base and made myself some torches before running to the altar again and grabbing my stuff. But I couldn't challenge the Megaraptor because apparently it was out hunting, so I kept an eye on him from afar, but that's when my screen became foggy. So I thought it was coming for me, but I was way off because my creature started dying and there was nothing I could do to stop it. So I just bit my lips and waited for him to finish. I already started taming it and I won't stop till it's tamed. Besides, that Megaraptor is way stronger than all of my creatures. After that tragedy, I was finally able to continue taming. And man, its torpidity dropped way too much. Anyways, while taming it, I noticed I wasn't wearing my armor, so I risked it and wore my armor mid-taming, and thankfully nothing bad happened. And since it's a high level, it took a really long time, but I eventually finally got it knocked out. And without issues this time. Once it was finally asleep, I ran to base and collected all the meat and hide my creatures had in their inventory. Then took my hatchet and started looking for baby dinos to slaughter. But the closest thing I found was a parasaur egg, so I took it. Eventually I grabbed my bow and started looking for babies the other side. But this bird started stealing my stuff, so I proceeded to miss every single shot. There we go. Yeah, I haven't played this game in a little while. So I just gave up and left the bird, but he probably took it personally, because he didn't leave me at all. So I continued missing even more shots. And it was almost gonna kill me, but thankfully it left. And that's when I found a baby Dilla. Of course I won't miss shots on a land creature, right? Yeah, that's definitely on my crosshair. And yeah, that bird came back to make my life even worse, so I had to bail out. I honestly got tired of missing that. I just tried to bolo the baby, but I missed twice. Luckily I was able to hit the father and kill it though, but after missing even another arrow on the baby, I decided enough is enough already and used the hatchet instead. I was honestly just looking for a baby to get prime meat, but instead I went on the longest side quest ever. When I finally got the prime I needed, I ran to the Megaraptor and put the prime in its inventory. I then collected some narco berries which I turned into narcotics and fed the Megaraptor on the end of day 7. On day 8 I realized I'm gonna need to get more prime meat, so while looking for babies, a random Procoptodon fell from up here. But I found some babies eventually, so I chopped them and their parents up. And there was this turtle that annoyed me for just existing, so I hit it with a torch. And as I'm running back, I found a Bronto in the ocean. Yeah, what a weird start. Anyways, I gave the prime to the Megaraptor, then just started waiting. Ooh, that's a pretty pteranodon. And waiting for a while until it was finally tamed. But I didn't even get to name it before my game crashed. Yeah, I hate this game. Thankfully though, I saved right before it got tamed, so I just had to wait a little bit. Speaking of teams, I checked the saddle, but I'm still not close to unlocking it, so I'm gonna need to get myself a Raptor and a Deinonychus, since it's gonna be a while until I can ride the Megaraptor. And since most of the metal have smelted, I decided to make a crossbow, since my bow broke trying to kill a Lystro. I mean, it was sitting right next to my Megaraptor, so I had to do what had to be done. Anyways, I repaired my armor, named my Megaraptor, and had a quick look at its stats, which weren't too bad to be honest. So I made it attack some creatures, and its damage without leveling was honestly pretty good. So I made it attack this Diplo, and once it was killed, the stats were looking amazing. So I made him follow me up into the White Cliffs, and started looking for Raptors on the end of day 8. I continued searching for a good Raptor or Deinonychus egg through the start of day 9, and went a little deep since I got Featherlight to back me up. I then reached a cliff where I found yet another Megaraptor down, but right then a horse started attacking Featherlight, and I'm just glad didn't fall down with it. Anyways, I got my spyglass and found a Deinonychus nest with some Deinonychus around it, so I thought an egg must have spawned in there. I also checked the Megaraptors level and it was another 145. I immediately wanted to get down there, but I kinda forgot to get some parachutes, so I tried to slowly go down, but that Megaraptor kinda scared me. I mean, Featherlight could definitely kill it, but I didn't want to kill it since it would be a really great tame. But that's when it aggroed to me, so I hid behind Featherlight until the fog went away. But I didn't want to go down yet because I knew it was sitting right there waiting for me. I thought about crafting a parachute, but I was missing thatch and there were no trees nearby. So my only chance was to jump and hope it won't aggro. I didn't see it nearby, so I slowly moved between the rocks thinking I'm safe, but that's when it appeared out of nowhere. So I ran to Featherlight, but it ran right beside it without attacking. So I went right beside Featherlight and let him hit me, which made Featherlight finally realize something's wrong and fight and kill the Megaraptor. After that, I ran to the Deinonychus nest, but it was practically empty. I know it's the same nest I took the eggs from before, but I mean, new eggs should have spawned by now. Anyways, it didn't really bother me much, but I should have been more careful because I ended up with the whole Deinonychus family aggroed to me. They did end up killing me, which is fine. I mean, I could spawn back and get my stuff since the Megaraptor would easily deal with them, right? Well, at least that's what I thought, because right before I died, I accidentally pressed a button which made my character whistle passive. And that made Featherlight stop fighting back. So I spawned at the closest location worried that it might die. So I started running back as fast as I could, and right when I was getting close, a Deinonychus appeared behind me, and I know I did have enough time, but I'm really stupid for not whistling aggressive or neutral. And I ended up dying. On the second run, I got attacked by a bunch of raptors and ended up dying again. By the third time I was worried it already died, so I checked the tracker and thankfully it was still alive. And once I got close enough, I started spamming neutral, and even though I died, at least the Megaraptor is safe now. On the fourth and hopefully the last time spawning beside this lake on this video, I was able to safely reach Featherlight, which was on its last bits of health. So I got my stuff and decided to end this mission. Well, not before dealing with this annoying Diplo, of course. Anyways, I made Featherlight follow me to a safe spot, then healed him a little before starting to run back to base. But I kinda found a 140 Raptor on the way, so I can't leave without it. Oh, I also found a 150 Megaraptor, so I knew for sure where to come when I needed another Megaraptor. Anyways, I got the Raptor's attention and bolaed it, then gave it a few shots in the face, and it was asleep. So I looked around and found a novice, so I got some mutton, then gave it to the raptor, and 2 feeds later it was awake. So I named him Iguanodon, and I just needed some wood to make a saddle, so I gathered some wood real quick and made that, then got on and started running back to base, and that was the end of day 9. I reached back to my stuff on day 10, then organized myself and made some parachutes because I'm planning to go back there to get a Deinonychus egg. I also repaired my smithy, then spent a good amount of time farming fiber, thatch and flint to make a huge amount of arrows before getting on my raptor and heading on a journey that I may lose everything and come back empty. But it had to be done because I needed a Deinonychus. Once I got up the White Cliffs, I looked up the best locations for Deinonychus eggs and most of them were down there. The only issue is that I don't know how to get back up once I'm down there. And even if I found a way up, those Deinonychus would probably kill me before I'm out. So I had to look for other places that are easier to get to. I also found a Diplo egg and, I mean, you already know me. By the way, I think this Diplo heard me and tried to demonstrate to me how to get down there, but you should never trust a Diplo, so I continued on my way. I spent some time running and ended up on the edge of another cliff on the other side, but this time I found a way to get down there, so that's where I was headed. I also found the same nest again without an egg, so there must have been an issue because they usually respawn. Anyways, I did kinda get lost and couldn't find the way I saw earlier, so I decided to take another route. Speaking of which, it was looking beautiful with all this fog. So I kept running and running, looking for a place with Deinonychus and found this hill which I thought might have Deinonychus on top of it. So I tried jumping up and got halfway before realizing I can't go any further. Wait, how did this Lystro end up here? Well, whatever, man, that was the end of day 10. I spent the start of day 11 running to the far southeast of the map, and anywhere I go, I end up on a cliff. I tried to jump on this pillar this time just to have a look and ended up falling down. Hopefully, I won't run into many issues. And wow, this place has a lot of metal nodes. There were some Deinonychus, but I couldn't see a nest yet. And there are finally two great pathways, one leading further down and the other leading up. So I headed up and found a lake with a pathway leading even further on top. And one look at the place made me realize I hit the jackpot. After all this time searching, I finally found a nest. And even though it's just a level 20, it's still better than nothing. So I grabbed it and started running even further on top. There were only herbivores up there, but I found a way to get back where I was before. And there was a dead Deinonychus, so I jumped down and I thought I dismounted in time, but the raptor hit the tree. Good thing it didn't die, and I was able to get back to where I first saw the Deinonychus but couldn't spot their nest. This time though, there was a nest, and they were fighting away from it. So I wasted no time before jumping down and trying to get up from the other side. But first I had to kill this raptor just to heal mine a little more before slowly going up. And I was somehow able to reach the nest thinking they didn't spot me, but I heard them coming for me, so I had to lock in. I was able to lose them and get to the egg, but all of that work for a level 55. I did find even another nest in the same place, but I guess it's from the same parent. I mean, honestly, with how big the nest is, they should make it that 2 or 3 eggs spawn in one nest at least. Anyways, those 2 eggs were enough for me, so I started going back. And looking at the place, I kinda recognized it. And getting closer here made me realize... Oh, what? Nah, never mind. As I was saying, getting here made me know for sure where I was. So basically, I spent all that time walking and running all around the place when I could have just went straight from here and found those eggs. Yeah, that's pretty annoying. Anyways, after farming some crystal, I jumped back down to my raptor and it sure took a long time. But eventually I was able to reach the end of the cliff and jump down back to my base where I finally started hatching the Deinonychus eggs on the end of day 11. On day 12 something really weird happened. I logged on and saw myself falling from the sky around 2000 meters away from base with those wild creatures. I don't know how or what happened, but this was right after an update that fixed some issues. So it might have done this. This is definitely one of the weirdest glitches I've seen in Ark, and I genuinely think it's a prank. I had to use commands to get back and also did a dino wipe, so sadly the 2 high level Megaraptors I saw before are now gone. But it's fine, I'll hopefully find other ones. And something I just realized is that I had 2 bodies of myself sitting here. The body that I'm on right now is the actual body I was on when I left the game, but the sleeping body right now is the one that I spawned with today. So I guess the glitch just duplicated my body and sent it randomly somewhere in the map. So I erased the evidence and that meant I killed myself in another body, which was a higher level than me. I don't know how, I genuinely do not know how this happened. So after this weird shenanigans that Ark set up for me, I started hatching the Deinonychus eggs for real this time. The eggs hatched after a while and I got twins from one of the eggs and they looked amazing. And the last egg that hatched had an even more beautiful looking Deinonychus. So I wanted to make him my main mount for now and named him Blue. As for the others, I just named one of them Astrid 2.0. I then gave them each some meat and started waiting to imprint them, while changing the settings a couple times. I decided to go to the Wild Cliffs. As I'm waiting, maybe I could find another Deinonychus egg. But by now some Dinotherium spawned in the distance, so I'm gonna have to be more careful. So I looked around and found no eggs, so I ran back, but jumping down without looking was a huge mistake. I was really lucky that I landed on a platform, or those Dinotheriums would have definitely finished me off. I thought a little, then jumped as far as I could, and I'm 100% sure I dismounted right before hitting the ground in here. It doesn't matter right now because I have all of them chasing after me, and I can't go back to base since they will kill my baby Deinonychus. And they weren't losing aggro, so I had to make them follow me into the ocean. But their legs are so long they were able to catch up to me in no time. But they finally left me afterwards, and I'm surprised that my raptor is still alive. But now they were between me and the base, so I had to be really careful running back to base, and thankfully I didn't grab their attention and was able to get back safely. I waited a little before the imprint timer ran out, and it only gave 25%, so I had to change the settings again. But it wasn't any better this time, so I had to change it again and again. And I wasn't able to imprint any of them to 100% before they grew up, so I got the saddle on Blue, but right then a Dinotherium attacked my base. So all my creatures started attacking back, but most of them were really low levels, so I lost so many of them. My creatures kept dying left and right, and even Blue died right before the Dinotherium was killed, which is really sad, honestly. The only Deinonychus I have left now was Astrid 2.0, which I'm gonna have to use to get more Deinonychus, or else I'll end up using my Raptor all over again. And yeah, that was the end of day 12. I started day 13 by healing Astrid 2, then jumping up to the White Cliffs abusing the jumping tech, looking for a Deinonychus egg. And I actually found a level 50 right away, so I grabbed it and started looking for more eggs. And boy, I haven't felt this good traveling in a while. And it didn't take me long to reach where it took an entire day to reach with a raptor. But there wasn't a nest, so I continued searching elsewhere. I went down cliffs, up mountains, and through lakes until I finally reached Deinonychus land. It was a small area between two cliffs, but the amount of Deinonychus and nests was insane. I had to mark this place, and with the amount of Deinonychus, dismounting to steal the egg was out of the question. So I had to try make them follow me out of the place as much as possible, before sneaking down in again and stealing 2 eggs. I then immediately went back to base and was in the middle of getting resources to craft torches when those elephants started getting too close, so I had to whistle aggressive. My Megaraptor obviously did most of the work while I tried to get this bird, but it's not easy to hit them with a Deinonychus. And sadly my Raptor died, but it's fine. It's not like I need him anyways. Back to what I was doing. I hatched 1 egg, but 2% imprint is not what I was hoping for. So after a quick relog, I did get the full imprint, but the timer is too long now. I genuinely can't figure this up. Anyways, I started hatching the other egg, and that was the end of day 13. The egg hatched on day 14, but that only gave 9% imprint. So yeah, I started hatching another egg, but the timer on this is way too long. So I went back to Deinonychus land and found a level 15, which I took for testing. Then the whole family tree came to chase me, and I accidentally dismounted. Luckily, I was able to mount back in time and ran to the exit, but there were more Deinonychus there, so I made a quick 180 and left from the other side. I wasn't satisfied with 1 egg, so I kept searching and found another one in the nest I always run into. See, I told you they respawn. I also found another nest nearby, and I'm glad I kept searching, because I found the highest level I've seen so far. After finding that treasure, I went back to base and started hatching an egg on the end of day 14. On day 15, I admired the graphics as I'm waiting for the egg, but the test Deinonychus asked for a kibble, so I hatched another egg and I got twins. But the first got 20% imprint, so after relogging for the millionth time, I got the other one to 100%. By the way, if you haven't noticed yet, the reason I didn't breed them to test my imprint settings is because all, and I mean all, the eggs that I hatched were females. I really thought there was an issue because I hatched like 10 eggs and they were all females. But I finally got a male, which is one of those twins. Anyways, I killed the Deinonychus that asked for a kibble, and I didn't want to hatch the 135 until I'm sure that the imprint timer is good. So I had to go steal another egg before going back to base, and by now the male Deinonychus finally grew up. So I started breeding my Deinonychus so I can have unlimited eggs for testing until I can get the settings right. So I started hatching the egg, and that was the end of day 15. The first half of day 16 was spent testing, and I'm glad to say I finally got the settings right. So that meant I could finally start hatching the 135 Deinonychus egg, but I had other plans. I went to the other side of the river and jumped over the mountain, then started exploring the map. I'm gonna need to find a permanent base location soon and start building, so I set on a mission to look for one. I mainly just have 3 requirements. One is obviously having water nearby, mainly for crops. The second and most important one is having metal nearby, cause since I don't have flyers, I'm not gonna be able to cover huge distances to go get metal. And finally, the view has to be beautiful, and that's real not a hard thing to find on this map. Also, I'd prefer if the area is close or in the White Cliffs because I'll be looking for Deinonychus eggs and Megaraptors all the time. I found this glowy pink tree and I'm really considering to build here, but I'm not sure if there's any metal nearby, so I'll have to think about that. And yeah, that's basically the end of day 16. Day 17 was practically similar to day 16. I just kept exploring, but nothing can go right for me, and while this Rex was chasing me, a Microraptor stunned me off my Deinonychus. I'm just thankful I fell off this small cliff because otherwise the Rex would have killed me. Anyways, my Deinonychus dealt with the Microraptor and I kinda learned how to vertically climb up mountains. It might not be perfect, but at least I'm getting somewhere. Also, yeah, I did not know I could latch onto flyers. This is pretty cool. But the RG left me standing on thin air. Yeah, wildcard fix your game. I have to give credit to them though, because this place is really just beautiful. I did kill some creatures for Keratin and Chitin on the way, and continued exploring these stunning places, before starting to head back to base. And look how much distance the Deinonychus is able to cover with just one jump. Also, I didn't want to go home empty-handed, so I kinda just stole 3 eggs, then went back to base, and that was the end of day 17. On day 18, I got the stuff I needed to make cryopods, so I leveled the weight of one of the Deinonychus since the others couldn't carry me, and started heading to the snow biome since I'm missing polymer. Once I made it, I found this iceberg which had a huge amount of penguins, but this RG ended up harvesting almost all of them before I got the chance to even make a club. So I turned them into food for my Deinonychus. I mean, it's fine, it's not like I need that much polymer anyways. So I started heading to the green up, and I'm really considering building close to this area because it's flooded with metal. Anyways, I made it to the green orb and was only able to craft 2 cryos because I'm missing crystal. So on day 19, I decided to go look for more crystal, which really wasn't hard to find, considering this place is just trees and mountains. So I got what I needed, and my friend was watching me and he said that I couldn't make it to the green orb with just one jump. So I took it as a challenge and decided to jump. Oh, rhino spawn here. Well, jumping with that momentum turned out to be a really stupid mistake, because I landed straight into the swamp. And you know what else is in the swamp? Capros and Sarcos. And one of them grabbed me off my mount. To make matters worse, there were piranhas too, so I was losing health significantly fast. I was able to get on my Deinonychus, but I got grabbed again, and I really thought I was messed up. but I was able to get on my Deinonychus again and survive on really low HP. So yeah, after that close disaster, I went back to the green orb and crafted a few more cryos while trying not to grab the Rex's attention. Once that was done, I grabbed my stuff and went out of there. After that, I found some sort of small castle nearby, which reminded me to go check out the new castle in 2 islands. I found a purple drop with a ring on the way before jumping over the water and not being able to see a single thing. I landed on the water close by and the Megalodon started attacking me. I was pretty sure I'd make it before it kills my Deinonychus, but oh boy. If it wasn't stupid enough to miss some attacks, my Deinonychus would not have survived. Like, look at that HP, man. Anyways, I checked out the castle and it's a really great place to live in. The interior is spacious, there are 2 sections outside, one for tames and one for breeding, but I'm not gonna live here. In fact, I won't live in any of the ruins. I'm gonna build on my own, even though this place is amazing. Well, as I was going back to base, I found the Hobbit's house. It was just a huge room on the inside, so I just spent some time playing with the Echo. I found another castle in the redwoods, but as I said, I'm planning on building. So after opening this blue drop, I got back to base to leave some stuff, then went exploring looking for a base location, and that was the end of day 19. I found a high level Megaraptor on the start of day 20, and I was headed towards the memorial area in Valguero because I wanted to build on the river above it. But because of the amount of trees and narrow cliffs leading there, I had a good look at the memorial, and even though this place looks great to build in, I decided to just scrap the idea because it was too much effort to get up here. Like literally, it took me almost half of the day just to get up here. So I went back looking the White Cliffs since it's the best place to build in my opinion. And I found the perfect place to build on the end of day 20. The view was amazing, there's metal nearby, it's just perfect. Except the fact that it spawns troll golems. I put a waypoint on day 21 and had a look at the view. Also, I found another high level Megaraptor while heading back to base. Anyways, once I got back, I realized I'm finally high level enough to craft the Megaraptor saddle. But I'm missing some metal, so I farmed some and started waiting for it to smelt. So I decided to hatch the 135 Deinonychus egg as I'm waiting. Once it hatched, I named it by its stats and was able to fully imprint it before crafting the Megaraptor saddle and trying to use it for the first time. And this creature was great. It had everything. Double jump, good damage, stealth mode and a hunt mode, combo damage and even a pounce. So I spent the rest of the day just playing with it. On day 22, I cried my Deinonychus and packed my stuff onto the Megaraptor to move to my new base spot. And it took a long time, but once I reached, I started looking for a way to go up. And I spent the entire day searching, but couldn't find a single pathway that leads up. And that was the end of day 22. Day 23 started off smoothly because after stealing some Deinonychus eggs and killing their parents for fun, I found a way to go up. It wasn't directly up there though, I had to go up another cliff, then go over this natural bridge before finally reaching where I wanna build. And after killing this Diplo to make sure it doesn't throw me off the cliff, I gotta say, this place looks even more beautiful when the sun's up. Anyways, I placed a storage box and foundation close by and my character got thirsty, but there was no water nearby, so I had to go back down just to get water. And I forgot to bring the Deinonychus that had the saddle. So I made a bet to transfer my character for the first time in my life. But that's when I realized I never placed a bet back there. So I crafted a saddle and went down to drink some water before going back and opening a red drop which had 2 behemoth metal gates. And demolishing those gives a ton of metal. So I crafted a smithy as well as a full set of flak armor on the end of day 23. I spent the start of day 24 farming wood and thatch because I wanted to start building my main base, which is gonna be made out of wood since I can't team a proper resource gatherer. And this is where I'm building my base. I had an idea of making a longhouse, but I didn't know for sure if I should make it horizontal or vertical. Eventually I settled on a horizontal base. I also spent the next 3 minutes farming fiber before crafting foundations, and all that time farming just for 9 foundations. So I went back to farming. After farming for most of the day, I noticed a lot of stone where I wanted to build, so I had to clear that. I still wasn't done, but that was the end of day 24. I finished breaking the rest of the rocks on day 25 and had to enjoy the view as usual before making 2 mortar and pestles and mass crafting spark powder. And well, the place was still filled with bushes, so I had to get rid of that as well. Once that was taken care of, I started placing the foundations. I mean, that's all I have for now, but this base is gonna be a huge project, especially since I'm farming by hand. Anyways, I farmed just a little bit of metal, then split it equally into my forges before crafting more foundations on the end of day 25. While farming on day 26, I saw a red drop with a ring in the distance, so I went with my Deinonychus and the loot wasn't bad, but it could definitely be better. By the way, I stole a lot of Deinonychus eggs and looted a lot of drops while building and farming, so I'll just show you the ones with great loot and high level eggs. Anyways, I went back and placed my foundations, but in the middle of doing that, a Rex attacked, and it ended up damaging a lot of my foundations before I could kill it. And yeah, I spent the rest of the day breaking trees, and look how far I have to go just to get wood, since almost all of the trees in my area are gone. And that's the end of day 26. On day 27 I had to relog and double my harvest settings just for this challenge because man, farming by hand is truly a pain with official settings. And I could tell right away that farming is gonna be much easier than it was before. So by half of the day I finished placing the foundations and made a 10 by 7 base. Then placed a stone gate in front as well as some walls. And I didn't know which way of placing windows looks better, so I'll decide that later on. Moving on, I have to tell you that this base is gonna have 2 floors. So I placed stairs this way on the end of day 27, but it didn't really look good. So I picked it up on day 28 and went to place it in the back, which looked much better. Well, I kinda had a better idea for my base, so I started picking up walls and foundations from the side to make a vertical long base. Also, I removed the gate. So I started placing everything once more and added quarter ceilings in front and back to give the base some extra detail. So now the base is 7 wide and 9 long without counting the extra ceilings. And honestly, my favorite Megaraptor feature is the pounds because it saves me a lot of time moving back with the wooden thatch. So I started filling the edges and I think you can see what I mean right here. And that's it for day 28. I started day 29 by bullying some golems just because I felt like it. After that I found another 135 Deinonychus egg before continuing to build more walls, and the back of the base was starting to get its look. Though I didn't like how the window in the middle looked, so on day 30 I worked 2 windows in there using quarter walls so that they don't overlap with the stairs. And I have to say, that looks so much better. I later on found a really good red drop and I'm gonna need to make a grinder for all those saddles. I then went back and placed some ceilings and most of the walls for the ground floor, as well as some windows using quarter walls to center them. And that's basically it for day 30. Day 31 I found 2 140 Deinonychus eggs in the same area really close to my base. And that's the best I've found so far. By the way, as I'm walking beside my base, hey, what on earth is Filippo doing in here? This guy's invading. I honestly really wanted to tame him. Anyways, I found this drop with cactus broth, which made me wonder if I could use it in the boss fight so that vultures don't attack me. By the way, here's how the base is looking for now. After that, I changed those windows into walls, and that was the end of day 31. I placed railings on the start of day 32, as well as the walls, and here's the side of the base. Anyways, as I'm going to get this rare drop nearby, I found a 140 Megaraptor, so I had to mark the place down. And the drop has a Phasolosuchus saddle like every other damn drop. I then went back and started building the roof, and decided to put quarter roofs on the edges to make it look better. I also started putting some on the sides for the extra detail. And that's the end of day 32. On day 33 I wanted to make the roof have this triangular overhang at the front, but there was practically no way to make that align with the overhang in the sides, since there isn't a quarter piece of the roof corner. So I kinda just had to remove the sides. I also found an Ascended Fur chest piece on the end of day 33. Day 34 started with me looting a few drops in the far north, before completing the roofs and the sides, placing pillars by the stairs, and that's it for day 34. On day 35 I started building the roof in the middle, and I really didn't like how the wood ceilings looked on top, but it's fine. Also, I got really tired of having to go down this cliff and back up again every time I need to drink water, so I placed a water tank, an intake, and a tap. So now I finally have water connected to my hill. And that's the end of day 35. While I'm farming on day 36, I found this exotic looking jerboa. After that, I placed the roofs. And day 37 started with me finding a great red drop with a fabricator and turrets. And those are gonna give a lot of metal when I grind them. So after that, I completed closing my base, and yeah, I felt the overhead was a little too much, so I reduced it by half a ceiling, which does look better right now. And honestly, the base was starting to look good on the end of day 37. On day 38, I made 2 balconies on the back of the base, and finished building the roof as well. Also, just to keep things simple, day 39, 40, and 41 were spent farming and crafting pillars and railings to decorate the exterior and the interior of the base. And this is the final result. And yeah, just to be clear, I came up with the idea of the base, but the full build was inspired from a couple other great builders. It's not the best base, but I have to say, I'm proud of making it. And it shouldn't have taken this long, but what could I say, I was farming by hand. So this is probably like the second most I've farmed in my entire life for a base, coming after the pyramid I built once Scorched Earth came out. Anyways, I placed some storage boxes down the stairs and on the second floor, hoping that's enough. After that, I placed some forges as well as a smithy. Then went to loot a red drop with a ring, and honestly with this loot, I don't think I'll ever need to mass farm metal in this playthrough. On day 43 I placed the fabricator I got, then jumped down this hill and started farming oil and silica pearls after bringing the harvest rates back to normal. I then started crafting electronics and transferring my stuff to the base. After that I made a generator and a fridge, then looted a red drop on the end of day 43. I continued moving stuff to my base on day 44, then found a red drop with a ring and did what every Ark player would do with bombs. Also, I found a pink sheep. I don't know what's up with Ark lately, but I've been finding all sorts of colorful creatures. Red parasaurs, pink brontos and aloes. Anyways, that was the end of day 44. On day 45 I made a couple of lights and placed them around the base. And man, I wish I lived somewhere like this instead of somewhere like Scorched Earth. Anyways, I was in the middle of killing this Bronto when my Deinonychus decided to... I better start breeding Deinonychus soon. So I placed standing torches and started hatching the high level eggs I got. The first one had 1440 health and 342% damage, so I named him that. The second one hatched twins which had the same stats and colors as the first egg, so I must have stolen this egg from the same parent twice. The third egg hatched on day 46 and this one didn't have any better stats. Also, I wanted to tame another Megaraptor, so I got ready and headed there. I found the 140 Megaraptor, but I wasted the entire day looking for its altar without any luck. I finally found the altar on day 47 and started taming, but I wasn't even quarter done before a raptor started attacking me while taming. I didn't even know you could get attacked while taming this thing. And my stupid Megaraptor Featherlight came in to kill the raptor. But it must have hit the Megaraptor because it cancelled taming. I had to run away and try again. And this time, I was so close to taming it, but my stupid Megaraptor ruined everything again. Usually when I put creatures on neutral, they don't help me when I'm getting attacked. But this time, Featherlight decided to come ruin everything and almost killed the Megaraptor. So I had to back off and give it something to heal, before trying again. And if you thought it would go well this time, you're absolutely wrong. Because I don't know what happened, but the taming just cancelled right when I almost knocked it out. And I ended up dying. This is genuinely so frustrating, and the worst part is, my Megaraptor is on passive. So I spawned back and ran there with my Deinonychus, and tried to make the Megaraptor follow me away, before grabbing my stuff and trying for, what is it, the 4th time now already? Anyways, I thought things couldn't get any worse, but they did, cause I got attacked by a freaking aloe. And to make matters worse, I have to wait for a whole ass timer to spawn. Ark is genuinely my favorite game that I hate. So I spawned back on day 48 and ran to my teams, and sadly my Deinonychus died. Thankfully though, I was able to get back on my Megaraptor and get out of there safely. But it was really low on health. I still didn't give up on taming it though, but Ark must have had enough because the taming just randomly stopped, which should mean it died. But I couldn't find its body anywhere and there were no creatures nearby. So I guess I got Arked again as usual and the creature just disappeared. This genuinely sucks, but it is what it is. Well, after that failed side quest, I went back to base and hatched the last high level egg I had, which gave me an improvement in damage. But since I have no females at all, I had to use the older females to breed until I got a female with the good health. I really don't know what it is with my luck. Before I was only able to hatch females, but now it's the opposite. And as I was waiting for them to finish mating, I had a great idea. Instead of putting too many bright lights in the house, I could just put one right here on top, and that was more than enough to light the entire base. Anyways, that's the end of day 48. The babies hatched on day 49 and the first one was a female with the good health. As for the twins from the other egg, they were both males, so let's just say they got turned into XP. I still had to wait for the female to grow up before I could start breeding for the best stats. So in the meantime, I got rid of some of the bad Deinonychus. Also, by now I already had an egg, but it didn't really get both the good stats, so I had to send it back to the lobby. I honestly really wanted to tame a Megaraptor, to have an imprinted one for the boss fight, and to have eggs to tame the Gigantoraptor. So I headed off into the White Cliffs looking for one. And it wasn't too long before I found a 135 female on the end of day 49, so I marked it down on my map. On day 50 I thought about stealing eggs while looking for a Megaraptor, and literally the first one I found was a level 150. Right after that I found a 145 and a great amount of high level eggs. I guess Ark must have felt bad about the Megaraptor earlier, so it decided to bless me. I started by hatching 3 of them and leaving the 150 for last, but none of them had any better stats, so free XP I guess. Anyways, I started hatching the 145 and the 150, and I got twins from both eggs. The 145s didn't have any better stats, but the 150s had a better health and damage. And if that's not enough, they're the opposite gender. So it really just couldn't get any better. I really love this game, man. Also, the 145s looked really great. So I only killed one of them and that's the end of day 50. On day 51 I started hatching the egg I got from my Deinonychus pair. And this is gonna be my main Deinonychus for the rest of the playthrough. So I named him Sonar. Yes, referencing to Sonar from Dispatch. That game is absolutely goated. And I did absolutely nothing important for the rest of the day. On day 52 I made some sleeping bags, then got on one of my spare Deinonychus and headed to tame that Megaraptor I found. But the area was packed with creatures. Nonetheless, that didn't stop me from trying to tame it right away. It didn't take too much torpor, but I got attacked by Deinonychus, so I had to run back to my Deinonychus and get out of there. I tried again, but this time it was hunting. So I tried helping it a little before I spotted a red drop with a ring. I didn't have high hopes considering many were disappointing, but this one was 100% the best drop I got in this video. A grinder, an industrial cooker, and some metal structures. I wish every drop was like this. After that quick morale boost, I got back to taming the Megaraptor, but the stupid Paraceratherium came in front of me and I accidentally hit it, so I had to reset. They usually say third time's the charm, and for the first time I feel this statement is true. I was able to knock it out and give it mutton on day 53, but the only issue is, this is unfortunately the only footage of day 53. I may have accidentally paused the recording, but I'll tame another one, so don't worry. Anyways, I placed the industrial grill on day 54 and cooked up some meat. And here's the Megaraptor. I found one, but its level is 15, so I had to kill it. I also found a red drop, which did not disappoint. By then the Megaraptor has finished taming, but yo, I found Leonardo. Anyways, as I passed through my old base, something really weird happened. I got teleported to the top of the hill. Maybe that's what caused me teleporting before and duplicating my character. This place is definitely bugged out. And well, here are the stats of the Megaraptor. So I cryoed it and then went to the redwoods looking for a high level male Megaraptor on the end of day 54. I couldn't find any throughout the start of day 55, so I went back to the White Cliffs and kept looking for a while without having any luck. Wait a second, how on earth did that golem climb up this tree? Well, I guess it's not my problem. So I went back to base and wore my best armor. After that, I decided to go up and check out that castle and everything looked great. Except the fact that there's a golem on the branch of the tree somehow. Oh, since when does Filippo have a twin brother? Anyways, I continued searching for a Megaraptor till the end of day 55. On day 56, I went to the green up to check what I needed for the boss fight. And I mean, all of them are easy except the Gigantosaurus heart, because I haven't found any yet. So I went back and farmed some crystal. Also, like, bro, this is the 4th black and green creature I found. Anyways, I learned the hazard suit and gas ball collector since one of the artifacts is in the red zone of the aberration area. I then started heading to the aberration zone with my Deinonychus, and that's the end of day 56. I reached the entrance on the start of day 57, so I went in and started exploring the area. The place looked great and all, but the lighting is a little too bright in some places. I was searching for the red zone to get red gems for the gas collector, and it took a really long time of traversing the place and going around in circles until I finally found it on the end of day 57. On day 58, I knew for sure I can't just go in and grab 20 red gems without dying from the radiation. So I farmed some of the brown mushrooms to help me survive, and crafted some sleeping bags just to be safe. I then jumped in the radiation zone and found the closest red gem nodes, farmed them, and immediately got out of there, and I barely survived. After that, I found a better hatchet from a drop, before leaving the aberration zone and heading back to base. On the way, I found a level 50 male Megaraptor, but I was sure I could find a higher level, so I left it and looted a red drop with a ring before going back to base on the end of day 58. On day 59, I jumped down and farmed some silica, which made me able to finally craft enough electronics to make a chemistry bench, which I placed right here. I also crafted the gas collector, then started making spark powder and gunpowder on the end of day 59. I spent the entirety of day 60 and 61 traversing the redwoods and white hills looking for a good level male Megaraptor, but the highest one I found was a level 55. It wasn't until the end of day 61 where I found this level 90, but it was in a really bad spot. So I went back to base on the start of day 62 and decided to just tame any male Megaraptor to breed an imprinted one and be able to tame a Gigantoraptor to farm berries. So I repaired my torches, then headed to where that level 90 was, but I found a level 100 close by in a way safer spot. But I'm not kidding, I spent at least 5 to 10 minutes looking for its altar without finding it. I even turned off grass and started breaking trees, but it was of no use. So eventually, I gave up and went to tame that level 50 I found earlier. So I placed a sleeping bag and started taming it. But I immediately got attacked by Deinonychus. So I had to get out. By the way, this creature's supposed to be scary. Anyways, my second attempt taming it went quite well, honestly. I was able to get its torpidity really high before getting attacked by a raptor. But on my third attempt, I finally knocked it out, so I gave it some mutton and went back to base on the end of day 62. I got on sonar on day 63 and went to the snow biome looking for rhinos, since I needed their horns to craft lesser antidotes. I needed to get 9 more horns and it was a pretty easy task, especially with this shotgun. I also found this sacrificial area where there's a Savactinus in the middle. Just some nice extra little detail. On the way back, I cried my new Megaraptor, then went back to base on the end of day 63. I immediately started breeding my Megaraptors on day 64. Also, I still needed about 30 more rare mushrooms, so I'm gonna need to break a lot of crystals. And by the way, look what I found outside of base. It reminds me of Pikachu. Anyways, I hatched one of the Megaraptor eggs to make sure the imprint settings work fine. Though it didn't have good stats, so I had to kill it. And in case you're wondering, Featherlight has the best stats of the Megaraptors, so I'll have to hatch a male Megaraptor with the same health and damage. I also hatched 3 Deinonychus eggs, and the first one was a male whom I couldn't imprint, so I had to send it to the grave. The second was a female, which is great to double my egg production. And the third was... wait, where did the third one go? Well, I might have lost it, but all good, I have more eggs. Anyways, I spent the rest of the day breaking crystals to get rare mushrooms, but I still didn't have enough on the end of day 64. On day 65 I got my gas collector, then farmed rare mushrooms with the hatchet cause I forgot my pickaxe, before arriving at the aberration cave and looking for a gas vein. I got some blue crystals, then found a vein beside the red zone, and it's honestly surprisingly easy to get to. All you have to do is go around like this once you're in the cave and you'll reach the area. The exact coordinates are 39.8, 64.1. And that's it for day 65. On day 66 I unlocked the ghillie suit and crafted a full set cause it's finally time to go tame a Gigantoraptor. I crafted the lesser antidote before grabbing some eggs and heading to look for a Gigantoraptor cause I'm still yet to see one. All I know is that they spawn in this biome and it took absolutely no time before I found one. It was a level 55, but level didn't really matter, so I decided to tame it. I spread out some Megaraptor eggs nearby, then hid in the nest. Though the baby didn't want to play, so I guess something should be wrong. And I wasn't wrong, because the Gigantoraptor wasn't eating the eggs. Instead, it was fighting a creature with another Gigantoraptor that should have just spawned. And that's when I found the issue. The Megaraptor eggs hatched, so they were basically of no use. But good thing I didn't start taming the level 55, cause the other Gigantoraptor turned out to be a 130. Now, I know I said level doesn't matter for the Gigantoraptor, but you can't say no when a better level spawns right in front of you. I first had to kill the level 55. That did aggro the 130, but I did not expect it to chase me till the end of the day. Like the nest was genuinely empty as the baby was going after its mom. And when I went back to try make it chase me to the nest, it kept completely ignoring me. So I don't know what's up with this bird. On day 6-7, I spread some candy for the mom and hid in the nest to try convince the baby I'm its actual mom. Man, this taming method is pretty messed up. It was pretty easy doing this 3 times, but that's when I ran out of Deinonychus eggs, cause the Gigantoraptor ate them up so quickly. So I had to risk it and use a Megaraptor egg, which will hatch in a minute. I was able to play with the baby before the egg hatched, but I still needed one more egg. Though now, the only one I had was a half-hatched Megaraptor egg, so I dropped it and just hoped for the best. I just had a few seconds before the egg hatched, and the moment the mom went for it, I got in the nest and I got really lucky cause the egg hatched before the baby came to me, but it emoted anyway and I tamed it right when the mother aggroed to me. So I threw out my Megaraptor and that stupid thing started attacking its own baby. See, this is why we steal raise their kids. Anyways, I cried the baby, then had to walk back home on my Megaraptor, with the Deinonychus following me since I forgot to bring an extra cryopod. Also, bro, I give up. Everything is black and green. Philippe was literally raiding my game. Anyways, once I reached back, I imprinted my Gigantoraptor, then made it a saddle on the end of day 6-7. I got on the Gigantoraptor on day 68, and no lie, it's been over a year since I last played with one. But I don't think they'll ever be as useful to me as now, since this is the only berry gathering creature I have. It can also take care of babies, then give them a damage boost when they're close to it, I believe. Plus, it has great weight and mobility, so that'll help me in farming wood for charcoal. Well, after that I started crafting bullets before going on a wood farming spree and putting all of it onto my forges to make charcoal. I then got on sonar and started heading to... wait, what on earth is going on here? Well, yeah, anyways, I got to the aberration cave and grabbed the gas my collector produced. Though it's still not enough to craft a full hazard suit, so I left the cave on the end of day 68. Day 69. Yeah, I went back to base, then unlocked and crafted some grappling hooks. After that, I made some shotgun ammo, cried my Megaraptor, put on my snow gear and started heading to the snow biome to get my first artifact. And after this yellow drop with a ring despawned in front of me on the end of day 69, I found the cave entrance on the start of day 70, so I placed a sleeping bag, then threw out my Megaraptor and got in. There was a polar bear and two direwolves blocking the way, so I cleaned them up real quick, before going deeper into the cave, where I found a group of creatures including Purlovias. So I stayed back and fought them slowly, then dive bombed the Purlovias and killed them. The next part of the cave was a drop down, and then there was a small parkour to get the artifact. And I admit, I almost fell down a couple times, but I was able to grab the artifact of the destroyer from the monkey statue before going back to my Megaraptor and getting out. Once I was out, I got on my Deinonychus, and since it was on my way, I went in the aberration cave to get the last few gas balls I needed to craft the hazard suit, before going back to base by the end of day 70 and displaying my artifact. I started day 71 by crafting more ammo, then crafting the hazmat suit, but I didn't have enough blue crystals to make the full suit, so I went back to the aberration cave, farmed some, and headed back to base, and found out that Deinonychus can latch onto leaves and thin air, for arriving back at base and crafting the shirt on the end of day 71. On day 72, I grabbed myself a lesser antidote, some metal foundations, and wore a suit that'll keep me cool, cause the next artifact is in the lava cave. So I got on my Deinonychus and found an ascended pike from a purple drop with a ring on the way to the cave. Once I got to the entrance, I cried my Deinonychus, threw out my Megaraptor and went in. The place was filled with creatures, but they were no match for Featherlight. The cave was pretty straightforward. I just followed a pathway clearing creatures until I reached a room with lava and bats. And I did end up with mega rabies, but thankfully I had my antidote with me, so it wasn't a big deal. Anyways, the artifact was just up ahead, so I tried placing foundations, but it didn't let me because of the settings. So I jumped there and grabbed the artifact of the crag. After that, I went down and looted this blue cave drop, before grappling back up and heading out of the cave. Once I was out, I cried my Megaraptor, then killed a Microraptor on my way back to base, and that was the end of day 72. As for day 73, I couldn't find the recording, but I'm pretty sure I haven't done anything important. I just organized myself and got ready to go get the next artifact. Really sorry for this, the recording must have got corrupted or something. On day 74, I realized that my dinos will die in the radiation zone, and that I needed to feed them a mushroom brew so that the radiation doesn't affect them. So I cried my Gigantoraptor, then went to the aberration cave and farmed up some mushrooms. After that, I went back to base and crafted some mushroom brews on the end of day 74. On day 75, I went to the aberration zone for probably the last time to go get the artifact of the Devourer. So I put on my hazmat suit, fed my Deinonychus a mushroom brew, and went in. And they've done a great job designing this place. It's absolutely gorgeous. And well, since I'm on my Deinonychus, I was able to quickly pass by everything and easily reach the end where the artifact is. So I grabbed it and found some black pearls, so I grabbed some, but my Deinonychus couldn't carry it. So I just left it and started heading back. It's not like I need it anyways. Also, I know I came in with the Deinonychus, but I expected Reapers or at least Nameless to spawn, especially since I don't have a light pit. But hey, I ain't complaining, it's better for me. I was able to get out of the cave without breaking a sweat. And yo, this is like the second time I found this guy. I hope he does well. Anyways, once I made it back at base, I started hatching 2 Deinonychus eggs to test the Gigantoraptor's nursing ability that's supposed to give babies a damage boost. So I put them on its saddle and they started asking me to kill creatures, which gave them a bond point. This continued till the end of the day, but I still wasn't done. So I continued on day 76, and when they asked for an imprint, I removed one and walked it, but I didn't know that would reset its bond points back to 0. It didn't really matter anyways, because they both grew up before I could complete the bonding. And honestly, I didn't really see a difference in their damage. So I guess it only works if the bonding is 9 out of 9. So anyways, I named them Boss 4 and Boss 5, then let all my females breed to increase the egg production, and that's the end of day 76. On day 77, I started organizing all of my females around one male, and all the females from now on are gonna stay here. I did also start hatching Megaraptor eggs to get more females and increase production. And the next few days are gonna be spent breeding and power leveling, so enjoy the little montage. I still wasn't done on day 81, but I still have to get the last artifact. And this time, I grabbed almost every soup so that I don't get a repeat of what happened in Ragnarok. I got scuba gear cause that cave is supposed to have a water area, but I later realized that the water part is for another artifact which I don't need since the Lost Temple cave has 2 artifacts. By the way, if you're wondering, I've put another water tank to connect water to my industrial cooker earlier. Anyways, I cried Featherlight, then got on sonar and started heading to the cave. And it was a long journey since the cave is between the swamp and the jungle, right on top of a cliff. And I found a rhino right in front of the cave entrance, but it went chasing something else, so I was good to go. Also, I know I always say this, but man, I just cannot stop talking about the graphics and the design, like, it's just too good. Anyways, I just had to press a button for the gate to open before getting in, walking through a long path and reaching a collapsed bridge. So I jumped in and ran ignoring the crazy amount of bats. I can't afford to fight them cause I forgot to bring a lesser antidote, so mega rabies are probably gonna finish me off. Anyways, I continued going through the small pathway until I reached a huge room where the artifact is. So I jumped to these ruins and I could hear the artifact, but surprisingly it wasn't there. Like, it's supposed to be right here. So I just waited a little and the artifact of the brute spawned. So I grabbed it, and honestly, those caves are some of the easiest I've ever encountered. I thought the Lost Temple was gonna be special with puzzles or something like the one on Ragnarok, but it was pretty straightforward. As for the way back, I went the same way I came in using my grapples, and I used a focal chili to make this jump, even though I could have just jumped from the other side. Anyways, I made it back up and then pressed a button, got out. After that, I arrived back at base on the end of day 81. Time for round 2. I was done at the start of day 84, so I cried Featherlight and went to the swamp cause since I have all the artifacts, I still have to get tributes. And the ones I need are Titanoboa Venom, Sarco Skin, RG Claws, Aloe Brains, Rex Arms, and Giga Hearts. They're all easy except for the Giga Hearts, to be honest. So I got the Sarco Skin easily, but it took the rest of the day to get Titanoboa Venom, since they have a really low chance to drop it. I really wish they just gave it, or at least increased the chance of them giving it to like 50% or something. Also, I did get some arms on the end of day 84. On day 85, I got all the brains and most the arms I needed, so I decided to go look for RGs to kill for their talents. And on day 86, I got all the arms I needed before finding this. I'm curious, why do Pterandons like to go in rocks or underground? Anyways, I did get all the RG talents I needed, so now all that's left is the 2 Giga Hearts. And I'm still yet to see one in this 100 days. And yo, I found my guy again. Anyways, I went back to base thinking how I could kill a Giga, if I found one. And I kinda got a plan. I still had to find one first, so I spent the rest of day 86 and most of day 87 looking for Gigas or Karkas, until I finally found one in the snow. So I went all the way back to base on the end of day 87. And on day 88, I started grabbing all the charcoal I have and farmed some stone to craft more shotgun ammo. because my plan was to trap the Giga using metal gates and large bear traps, then shoot it to death. Once I got a good amount of bullets, I got on my Deinonychus and went to where that Giga was, placed a trap, then tried leading him in, but he went around the trap the first time. On the second try though, I was able to get him in and lock the trap. Now all I have to do is shoot him till he dies. Yeah, those creatures have a lot of health. 80k to be specific. I still had to find another Giga or Karka though, cause I need 2 hearts for the boss fight. And since those creatures are some of the rarest, I kept searching till the end of day 89. And I even found a third unicorn before finally finding a Karka. So I placed a trap nearby, then got its attention, and those things are terrifying when they chase you. Cause unlike the Giga, they're so fast. It got stuck on a bear trap though, so I immediately went behind and placed a metal gate. Then you probably know what happens next. Once it was down, I grabbed the last piece of the puzzle to start the boss fight before the start of day 90. I went back to base on day 90 and stopped all my creatures from mating. I realized I still had a ton of eggs though, and some of my Deinonychus have lower stats compared to the others. So I went to farm wood to make saddles for my Deinonychus army, and here's the last power leveling montage. So now all my Deinonychus have 8k health and around 960 to 1000% damage. And on the end of day 91, I got myself 3 sets of armor, just to be safe against vultures, because if you do not know, they can attack you while riding on your creature. I spent half of day 92 farming Tinto berries and Narco berries to make medical brews, but while doing that an Alpha Rex spawned beside my base. This is the third one I've seen so far in this playthrough. So I made him chase me away from base, then went back and made some medical brews. But to my surprise, it found its way back. But it completely ignored me and went away on its own. I still couldn't risk it being this close though, so I got on Malevla and 1v1 the Alpha Rex. And let's just say this creature is overpowered at 1v1ing other creatures. And I ended up killing it with ease. I feel like my army could definitely defeat Grendel, but the problem is vultures, cause I have to worry about dying myself. Anyways though, I was ready for the boss, so I started crowing my army, but since the way was so long, it took me till day 93 to fully bring my army, though I still had to go back and bring the artifacts and tributes, and have one good last look at base. Now, before you say it, I know I could have just used photo mode, but I didn't feel like it. It is time though, so I grabbed the artifacts and one of every soup I have. Then had to wait till day 100. Time to lock in. unfortunately, my health got so low and I ended up dying to a vulture. Well, despite the time and effort, it clearly wasn't good enough. I'm sorry if this wasn't the ending you expected, but this boss is insane and his vultures are even worse. Well, thank you all for watching the video. I have great challenges planned for my next videos and no promises, but maybe someday I'll get back and defeat Grendel once and for all. And just like that, I'll see you all in the next one. Now bye.